put on the Tassa. Okay. Listen, I even want to take it off. First, I'm enjoying it. As a matter of fact, I'm not the only person enjoying it. Tech guy who don't even really know how to dance, kind of doing a thing behind the camera there right now. So if the camera looking a little shaky, is because, you know, tech guy trying to roll up the Tassa or whatever it is trying to do. And here's the thing. I was going to play Drupity for you know, but then I can't play the whole Drupity thing. And by the time the first 30 to 45 seconds play, you know, she now started getting into the song. So I decided to go with Dragon Boys Tassa group from El Dorado, because I find, you know, they have a nice little set on section there. So yes, the back's hot this evening, hot tonight, because all I see what was going on my pages and them all day today. As a matter of fact, all I see what going on the socials from the weekend to now. The minute Dr. Rowley take off his belt in the People press conference, basically to say the law had to be applied the same way across the board, people done lost their ever-loving minds. I mean, Toppy has spent the last 5 days taking off his earrings for everybody. It's like handbag and purse rest down every 2 minutes with Toppy. I'm like, but Toppy, you ain't how to fight everybody though. Like, you don't have to fight everybody. You ain't how to chase every single freaking car. No, it's not necessary to be chasing every single car. And of course, not to be outdone is the kinda, maybe, could be, wanna be 1%. I don't know, because I ain't so sure what Sammy Mammy is. Sammy Mammy look like she aspiring to possibly behave like she could be. I don't know. Right? I don't know. What I do know is pace. You get up every single day from Saturday to now, and it was just pace. So what do we start with? I don't even know where to start. I'm going to start with Sammy Mammy and Odai Ramischand, right? I had to start with Sammy Mammy and Odai Ramischand. So we're going to tackle them. We're going to tackle Toppy. I had to touch on Anthony Wilson for a little bit because, you know, now, Anthony Wilson needs some love. He needs some love. So, let me get into it. Somebody say, if you come for me, I tell them it's Rhoda. Tell me do it, yes. Colin Santana, why are you so ridiculous? Hi, Alisa. Hi, Shirley Prudhomme. All right, let me jump into this one time. You all remember this young lady? Homegirl talking about your private beach, your private land. And I'm going to get into the degree of foolishness that Sammy Mammy talking when she talking about private beach, as if there is such a thing as private beach. We're going to get into the law.
I don't know what to tell you guys. We're just fortunate to have this view.
But it's Sammy Mammy, listen, it's Sammy Mammy whole conduct, right? Let me go back. Sammy Mammy whole conduct. Sammy Mammy put on she little reflector shades, and I should have put on my little reflector shades too, right? Because I was considering putting on my little reflector shades. So Sammy Mammy put on she little reflector shades, and she broad rim hat, etc., and she stand up on a beach. She stand up on a shoreline. She stand up on a coastline. You cannot own coast in Trinidad and Tobago. The only person who actually owns the coast in Trinidad and Tobago is the state. There was a point in time when coastline, beaches, and the seabed, you would have called that crown lands. We get rid of the queen, we take on a president, so now it's called state lands, right? So technically in our law, they say that the seabed the coastlines, the beaches up to the high water mark belongs to the state, and the state there would be represented by the president. So Her Excellency Paula May Weeks could come down to the beach and tell Sammy Mammy, hey, no, catch yourself, this is my land, and not mine as in me, not mine as in me, Paula May, but me as in office of the president, the title president, right? So you have Miss Sammy Mammy here, who is the child of a whole lawyer, and we're going to get into that whole lawyer just now. And Sammy Mammy, who is the child of a whole lawyer, and there's a lawyer who always dealing up with land dispute and land matters, right? Because he named jumping up with land things. So that's somebody jump on one of my threads and talk about land things. Talking about how I'm just here on my private beach. Now this is the thing that is real kill me. This West accent that people just want to put on is so out there. Like, why it does have to be destroying the sound of vowels? It's never A, E, I, O, U. With them is R. Everything is R, right? So I don't know why everybody's walking R. Right, good. There we go. And when you listen to how Sammy Mammy talks, kind of explains maybe why Papi Mammy, right? Daddy Odai does right the way he does right. So Sammy Mammy stands up on what is essentially state lands, because the beach belongs to the state. And what they say to you, what the law says to you is, the beach, right, or rather the coast up to the high water mark. So whatever is the point where a wave, when it comes in at high tide, the highest point that the wave does hit, that is what belongs to the state. So from the high water mark, go all the way right back to the seabed, the sea floor, right? High water mark to sea floor, that belongs to the state. And land that belongs to the state essentially means that the public can have access to it. You cannot own it, but you can have access to it. So once you have a property that is beachfront property and you are blocking access to the coastline, you are actually in breach of law. Now, I rather suspect that there are a number of people that lives away in the West, right, that breaching the law. Because when you look at from, where are we looking at from, boy? When you look at from sea lots, go all the way down to Carenage, thereabouts, so you have private properties. There's very little access to the coastline. So maybe one of these days what I'm going to do is pull up some cadastrals, pull up some maps and check to see who own land where and why they're blocking access to the coastline. Because you're not supposed to do that. So home girl comes on Saturday and she lets everybody know, I don't know why you're all so upset. Boo-hoo, too bad, so sad. I'm on my private beach. Except not. You're not on your private beach because you don't have a private beach. You can't own a beach in Trinidad and Tobago. As a matter of fact, chances are may not even be her land or her property she was on. I don't know. Me ain't see no deed, right? Because I hearing she from St. Augustine. So if you're from St. Augustine, to the best of my knowledge, St. Augustine has no coastline, right? Good. So that is thy home girl. Thy home girl. Now, Trinidadians, all they do ever let me down, you know. So just when I thought Sammy Mammy was sinking she own boat with she foolishness, up comes this special person to put Sammy Mammy in her place.
Hi guys. So it came to my attention that some of you are having a problem because me and my family are on our private beach. But you see, what it is that we own this property. This is private property on our private beach, all right? And I'm sorry, but we are not endangering anyone, and it's just my family here, and we know everyone, and we know everyone's whereabouts.
Listen, Aaron Schneider, take me out clean with this sound. Clean. You see that hat he have on his head? Why Aaron go on to him mother good basket and put it on top of his head? Why Aaron went and thief him mother good foil and wrap it on his glasses? And where did Aaron get this half a brassiere from? Where he get this half a brassiere from? That hat take me out clean. I couldn't catch myself after that hat. Could not catch myself. All right. Every single time I look at the thing, the hat alone, I was like, who is this? Is a basket? Is a lampshade? What this man put on his head? And then they playing up with the hair. Me know how he managed to get his teeth to look like she teeth. Now, generally, I don't really, because I know how expensive it is to go about fixing your teeth, right? So I ain't jumping on Sammy Mammy for that. But me know how Aaron get down to his teeth to resemble Sammy Mammy teeth. I ain't know how we do that. But that was the best parody. I mean, it was to me, it was one of the best ways to handle the situation, because what Sammy Mammy carrying on with, right? Let me flip back to show. What homegirl carrying on with is a degree of classism, privilege, that basically says I don't even have to know the laws. I could break the laws. I don't need to even know the laws. I don't need to know the laws about land ownership, nor do I need to know the laws about, the public health ordinance, nor do I need to adhere to anything. I could do everything as I want, and I could push it up in all your face. Take that. So the rest of us who busy trying to adhere to the health regulations, busy trying just to cope with life on a general basis, get to see this foolishness shoved up in our face, and we had to take it. So of course, Trinidad and Tobago decided they were having none of it. So she get drag, she get roast, good and proper. Now, it has some parents, when your child do foolishness, you just pull up the child and you just let the child know, you ain't supposed to be carrying on so, because you're shaming me, you're shaming yourself, you're dragging the family good name down, we raise you better. But not Private Beach Becky. Not Private Beach Becky at all. And Private Beach Becky was in a position where she daddy to show up and defend her. Now, I'm not even sure which part of this thing to show you, because this thing was so scary. When I see this thing this morning, and it's not me who find it, so shout out and big hella mad props to the person who pointed me in the direction of this man's rant. Because when I get to that rant this morning and I start to read this thing, oh Lord, let's see. I don't know if I could deal up with this now, but let me. Listen, my father would have cut my ass if I did carry on like Private Beach Becky. Odai Ramischand comes on and gives us his family's resume, right? Give us his family breakdown of who have this and who have that and who have the other, right? And I want you all to note that all of it is one sentence. All of it. All of these posts. Look at all of these posts. All you see now okay, it have a full stop here. So it's like what? Maybe 2 sentences in total. Right? 2 sentences. It must have 2 full stop in the whole thing. 2 whole full stop in this entire thing. And a set of bad spelling. And a set of, I know what to tell you, a set of bad grammar. But it's when I reach down to, meaning vex, it's not even the cussing that raised my eyebrows. Not even the cussing that raised my eyebrows at all. Because anybody who writing and their thoughts coming out in this particular way, I am expecting them at some point in time to deteriorate to a particular kind of language, right? So there's no part of me that particularly shocked or stunned that that's where we ended up in this entire situation. But let me tell you what had me concerned with all of this. Let me see if I could find that part, boy. Is the land part that had me concerned. Right. You see where he starts to talk about land? the defense of property rights. Okay, so this screenshot here. Good. So when he talks about his girl and he says, firstly, he studied at Cave Hill, and I think Cave Hill should issue a disclaimer one time. You need to protect the brand. Protect the brand, Yui. But when he got to this point where he was talking about where he studied law, and, you know, he do private international law, and he passed wherever it is with a B+, and he has some knowledge of the law of the sea, and what constitutes a public and private beach and private property. But now let me tell you something. Odai Ramischand. Let me keep this here. Odai Ramischand on bare foolishness with this talk about private beaches, right? And public beach and private beach. No. I don't know if y'all remember, because he draws attention to it. The Pigeon Point Bacchanal. When Sabga, they decided that they wanted to buy the Pigeon Point area, turn it into a club, and make it so that everybody had to pay to come into the beach, right? And there was a whole big long argument about the Three Chains Act. I remember it. Remember? Tobagonian roots. So it was a big thing in we house. Everybody was talking about it, and who could close off access to the beach and who can't close off access to the beach. Throughout other parts of the Caribbean, same thing applies. You cannot close off access to the beach to the public. And so to this day, if you are driving into Pigeon Point, yes, you will pay money to go into Pigeon Point to use the facilities. But once you walk along the beach, you could walk along the beach and get straight into Pigeon Point, because nobody, no matter how wealthy they think they are, nobody yet is in a position to change up our laws and make it so that you can have access. You can purchase a beach. And you purchase the land and you get the beach that attached to the land. Nope. The state continues to own all coastline, seabed, up to, and beaches up to the high water mark. That is what is taking place there. So you see, Odai and Samantha may know what constitution them living under, but the constitution that I living under in Trinidad and Tobago basically says that the state owns coastlines, beaches, and the seabed. So when he talking there about that defense of private property rights, the beach is not her private property. The land that is adjacent to the beach, maybe that's what the family owns. Maybe that's what they own, but they don't own the beach. And it had me amused that she convinced that they own the beach. He, as a lawyer, convinced that they own the beach, and come on to defend the foolishness that the daughter saying. And the Law Association in Trinidad and Tobago, mute, you know. The Law Association have not one word to say. So a whole lawyer comes out and makes an erroneous statement about the laws of the land. Because me, I ain't coming and telling all of this. I ain't just pull it out of thin air. I spoke to several lawyers today. I spoke to people who working or closely linked to the Commissioner of State Lands. I spoke to people within the judiciary, and I called a couple of the lawyers that I talk to regularly and asked all of them, explain this thing to me. Make sure I understand it, because I'm going to be talking to people about this thing later on today, and I don't want to be in a position where I say the wrong thing. Not even reclaimed land, because there's an argument he was making somewhere inside there where he was basically saying that if you reclaim land, you know, sometimes people, you know, we just create land in a sense. You know, you get soil, you dump soil, and you reclaim land. He is arguing that if you are squatting on reclaimed land, because according to our laws, you cannot own reclaimed land, right? Because reclaimed land, again, coastal. He is saying that if you squat on reclaimed land, and this is what is take my breath away with these people, you know. Bare criminality, homeboy discussing without batting an eyelid, you know. So he is basically saying that if he squats on reclaimed land for a certain period of time, he could then claim the land as his own. And I have been told that that is definitely not so. You cannot lay claim to reclaimed land. You're not even supposed to be squatting or living on reclaimed land. So of course that means that there are lots of people that are living illegally right now. Because there are people who live in on unreclaimed land. And when things happen, like coastal erosion and things, the first thing they just want to do is basically say that the state had to reimburse them. But I wanted to be able to read out something here. So I'd asked this question to people who linked to the Commissioner of State Lands, and I asked, can people claim ownership to reclaimed land? And they said it is hard to make a case for adverse possession for more than 30 years, because I mean one of the things that was being said in the post is if Odai saying in the post is that if you're on the land for a particular period of time, you could lay claim to it. And he said it is hard to make a case for adverse possession of land which was created incrementally. And that's the thing with reclaimed land, is incrementally you are creating the land. And the person said, in addition, in June 2018, we changed the law which prohibits adverse possession of certain types of land. And the lands that are covered by this would be protected areas, forest reserve, environmentally sensitive areas, and lands reserved for a public purpose. So in 2018, the law was amended so people cannot go and squat on land, squat on these lands here, and then lay claim to the land. So protected areas, forest reserve, environmentally sensitive areas, and lands reserved for a public purpose, you cannot go and squat on it and then decide after a period of time that you are going to lay claim to the land. Right? So Sammy Mammy and Papa Sammy Mammy leading everybody down a total bramble path with the foolishness that they are saying about beaches and private beach and being able to lay claim to reclaim land and the property next to the beach, and so that means that it's their own property. So I don't know what degree of craziness is going on with the Ramishands, but it would have been great if the Law Association had issued a statement, not to correct, not necessarily to berate Odai, because I don't know if Odai Ramischand is a member of the Law Association here. I don't know. It might be that he's not a member of the Law Association here. But it would have been great if the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago actually did something for the public good. Because these days, we only hear from Ole when it's something to do with the Chief Justice. But since this is an issue that's out in the public domain, and everybody now would have been talking about public land, public space, private space, it would have helped if the Law Association had chimed in and helped to guide the discussion. That's the kinds of things that I'm expecting my civil society organizations to do for me. I shouldn't have to be picking up myself when the day come and harassing a set of lawyers, asking them, here now, answer this question for me now. I'm trying to understand, because I want to be able to talk about it from a position of knowledge. And that's what I find myself having to do all the time, because the professional organizations here always dragging the flag, like consistently dragging the flag. What's all the whole point? What's the whole point of a professional organization? Or you even want to promote all yourself as, being involved in public life in any form and fashion? Anyhow, all right. So you have the Hoth lawyer and his Hoth daughter talking a Hoth mess about private land and public land and beach being private, beach and private land. Do not believe anything that is coming out of their mouth. Beaches, coastline, and coastline up to the high water mark and the seabed belongs to the state. And you, dear public, you are the state. So you get to have access to it. Nobody could block you. Of course, that also means, since it's public lands, if the Prime Minister stand up and tell all you can't go to the beaches and things just yet, it's public lands. And it's a public health ordinance. You understand? Public health ordinance. You can't be out in certain public spaces right about now. So you had to wait for the Prime Minister and them, for Faris and them to say, okay, yes, people could start to go back to beaches. But the way people like Sammy, Mammy, and Shifada carrying on, it looked like we might be able to return to beaches anytime soon, because they're just being hella irresponsible. What I want to talk about now. So, Somebody say the, the Law Association is a UNC party group, yes? All is not easy, you know. Why your mouth so bad? I don't know, maybe. Sometimes it's come across as like that. But, you know, maybe not. I mean, I think it has some decent lawyers out there still. It's just that they don't open up their mouth. You all need to open up your mouth a little bit. What's the next? Oh, I know what's the next thing I wanted to talk about. So, and this is linked to the whole business of public responsibility, right? So we just talk about the Law Association and the fact that the Law Association could have been making an effort to guide the public discourse, the public conversation about public versus private, right? And I often talk about media and the role and responsibility of the media here to guide public discourse, to inform the public, to make sure the public has the correct information, the right information, to talk about things in a particular way. And I get particularly annoyed when I have to deal up with editors, because editors have plenty responsibility in a newspaper. Editors get to call a lot of shots in the newspaper. They get to pretty much decide what's going in, what's going to be the headlines, that sort of thing, the pictures, the text, all of that. So last week, Anthony Wilson, who is the editor for the Business Express. Now, I know it's actually Express Business, but me and Kata, right? Because me is not the newspaper nenen. Me name the newspaper, me and christen the newspaper, me cut the navel string of the newspaper and bury it under the fig tree in my yard. So, Anthony Restmana, if I want to say Business Express, I go and say Business Express, right? Good. So, Business Express editor Anthony Wilson writes a column last week, and I want all you to understand something. This column is about 1,000 words long, right? So he sits down and he writes a 1,000 word column. And in that 1,000 word column, Anthony Wilson basically sits down and writes a what if story. So I read it last week and I thought to myself, why would you, with the power, something as powerful as a column, where you know everybody from the business sector going to be sitting down and reading the column, and people who are aspiring to be part of the business sector going to be reading this column, why would you waste 1,000 words making up a story? You know, crick crack, monkey breaky back for a piece of pomerac. Why? So the story that he wrote last week, and it's pure fiction. Anthony could vex all the vex he want to vex. It's pure fiction. The story is about what if the ministry, the government, was to sell the Republic Bank shares. Now, I'm speaking slowly because I had to break this down for you. Because when you understand what Anthony Wilson was suggesting in that column, you realize just how damn irresponsible he was being. And I know he's going to get vexed and he's going to tote and he's going to probably write a 1,000 word column again next week, right? But it's all right, Anthony. My back broad, I could take it, and I have a couple things to say to you right now. So, you all remember the Clico bailout? I'm sure everybody here remember the Clico bailout. You all remember this whole when Patrick Manning was Prime Minister, there was this whole thing about how Clico was going to collapse, and the government decided that it was going to bail out Clico, and we bailed out Clico. This is since 2009, right? 2008, 2009 thereabouts. We would have bailed out Clico. And after we bailed out Clico, Clico never paid back the money that it owed the government. As a matter of fact, the bailout was handled in such a way, if I remember it correctly, if I'm remembering it correctly, the bailout was handled in such a way that we never actually, as in when I say we, I'm talking about we the state, we the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The government of Trinidad and Tobago never actually put in place clear terms for how Clico was supposed to pay back the bailout. And that was one of my major problems with that bailout. So we gave Clico money, and I'm understanding as of today, right, after all of the tallying and stuff was done, is $30 billion our government would have put in Clico's hands for Clico to be able to bail itself out. And I need you all to understand something. $30 billion is half our annual budget. Because our annual budget under Kamla Prasad Bisesa was around $63 billion, right? Now it has dropped down by about $10 billion, somewhere thereabouts, right? So I think it's somewhere around $50 billion. Now we have the budget somewhere around $50 billion. So $30 billion is easily half of our national budget. And that's what we did. We gave Clico $30 billion and say, hey, I realize that you're not buying. Hold that. See what you could do. Try and settle yourself. And we gave them no terms for paying it back. Right? So they never paid back the money. There was no cash payback of money. And because there was no cash payback of money, what we had was a situation where the government of Trinidad and Tobago eventually took all of Clico's assets. And the assets, it spans a range of different types of businesses, right? One of the, Angostura would have been one of the assets. Republic Bank would have been one of the assets. About 23% of shares in One Caribbean Media. That's some of the assets. What else am I missing? There are a couple things. I'm not remembering everything. Carry Dock. Right? The dockyard down Shagrama side. All of those things were part of the Clico assets. I've seen people asking me 30 billion. Yes, I'm not making it up. When the liquidators and them finally tally up how much money was actually paid to Clico, handed out to Clico, given to Clico, $30 billion the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago gave to a company to bail out the company. And we never got the money back, right? So we got the assets. And one of the things that was done with the Clico assets back in 2018, the Minister of Finance took all of those assets and put them in a fund. And that fund allowed anybody who wanted to be able to purchase shares in the fund, and they're getting dividends, right? So the assets were put to work. Or they are going somewhere with all of this information, right? So the malls and them as well. Thank you very much, Sheena. So Long Circular Mall and Trin City Mall, to the best of my knowledge, are part of the Clico assets as well. So Minister Imbut, back in 2018, was looking to raise revenue for the state, of course, to be able to kind of balance our debt situation. So they put the assets into a fund, and they sold shares based on this fund. So everybody could have go, they could have purchased shares because it was open to the public, right? You could have purchased shares, and the bond, the shares were financed 2-to-1. So it was $8 million in assets and $4 million $4 million worth of bonds that were sold. So the bonds are backed very strongly by assets that are more that are worth more than the bonds, right? So you're buying the bonds, and you bought the bonds fully aware that the bonds were properly well backed by assets that were even more valuable than the bonds than the bonds themselves. So there's no way that the bonds going to crash. So this is put out in 2018, and people went and they were able to buy the bonds, and it wasn't a situation like under Larry Hawaii where they put out for the FCB IPO. When they put out the FCB IPO and people was able to quietly go and buy up a set of shares, that did not happen. It went out on the open market, and there were limitations to how much an individual could buy, so that it would not be a situation where one person or one entity or one consortium of persons was able to buy up a whole set of assets. Because if that was the case, then you would end up with maybe a small group of persons owning the majority shares with the bond. Right? Yes, thank you very much, Colin. The bond was over collateralized. So you had this situation where there was so many assets in the bond that the bond was very, 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 it was supported very well. It's well cushioned. People went out, they put a little kakara, because the thing was, properly advertised. There's a whole campaign and everything for the bond. You spend your little money, you buy your bond and everything, and you're getting your dividends, right? Every 6 months you're getting whatever it is, whatever payout. Flash forward to last week. Last week, Wednesday, Anthony Wilson sits down and writes a column asking, what if Imbert was supposed to sell the Republic Bank shares? So I want all to understand something. The Republic Bank shares are part of the assets in that National Investment Fund. If the Ministry of Finance, because the way Anthony Wilson writes the column last week and writes the column this week is to imply that Imbert could pick up himself in the morning and sell the Republic Bank shares just so because he named Minister of Finance. But that's not how it is work. Because the investment fund, we now, the public, we own shares, right? We own shares in the fund. And the fund is governed by a group of persons. And none of them is a Minister of Finance, right? There's a board of directors for the funds, right? For that fund. So Anthony Wilson writes up this column trying to make it seem as if Imbert don't want to sell the Republic Bank shares. And Imbert don't want to sell the Republic Bank shares because Imbert is a control freak. And Imbert only want to hold on to the Republic Bank shares. Now, mind you, Anthony Wilson is asking about no other shares at all from the investment fund. Only the Republic Bank shares, right? Which has me wondering who from Republic Bank want to be able to get back the shares, or who have an interest in these Republic Bank shares so that they want to be able to get back the Republic Bank shares. So he wrote that column last week asking, what if? And I put out a post saying, this is the best of magical realism fiction. I didn't realize that the Business Express dealing up with magical realism and fantasy fiction. So homeboy get vexed about that. Look like, you get a little hot and bothered under the collar. Write a whole column today, and in the column today, he basically says that he wrote last week's column and there was, feedback from the public. And the public he decides to point out the post that I put up on Facebook and some nameless banker. Now, so he names me. I have no issues with that because I make a lot of public comments about things. Tons of things I publicly comment about. But he makes sure that he names me social media commentator, phenomenon or whatever it is. No, social media sensation. I'm not a sensation, Anthony. If you're getting a sensation, maybe you need to get some Candida B. I'm not a sensation. I'm a phenomenon. Right? Just saying. So social media phenomenon. And then the other person is some unnamed bank employee. I don't know if the person opening the door at the bank. I don't know if the person responsible for sanitation at the bank. I don't know if the person is a CEO at the bank. I don't know if the person doing investment advice at the bank. I don't know. So is this anonymous person who works at an anonymous bank says to him that it's possible. Now here's what Anthony Wilson, veteran business journalist, fails to say for 2 straight weeks. Anthony Wilson fails to tell the public in 2,000 words, because he wrote 1,000 words last week and he come and he write 1,000 words this week. 2,000 words of writing, and Anthony Wilson fails to say in both columns that if you sell the Republic Bank shares, if Colm Imbert was to put God out of his thoughts and figure out how to just sell the Republic Bank shares just so to whoever it is want to buy the Republic Bank shares, that the whole National Investment Fund will collapse. He doesn't say that. Never puts it in there. So his whole Nancy story, not built on any particular foundation. So even in the world of his imagination, this story not making sense. And I, out here in the real world, reading this column last week, read the column this week, because somebody sent it to me, say, hey girl, look, you're starring, the man call your name. And I looking at it and I'm like, huh? So why is he not making a suggestion for what assets could actually replace the Republic Bank assets? Because you don't just come out and say Imbert should sell the Republic Bank assets. You had to come out and say Imbert could replace the Republic Bank assets with these assets that are worth the same amount as the Republic Bank assets, and then sell the Republic Bank shares and make this amount of profit or whatever it is. Because he argues that, more profit could be made from selling the Republic Bank shares than from leaving the shares to be part of the National Investment Fund. And I'm not gonna argue with his maths, because by the time I sit down to work out his maths, it might be 5 + 3 = kangaroo. And well, you know me, I ain't have time to tie up my head so. But I am looking at the premise of the whole argument in the first place. 1,000 words last week, 1,000 words this week, basically to say, why ain't sell the Republic Bank assets? And my question is, why should he, Anthony? Why should he sell the Republic Bank assets? Because those Republic Bank shares are sitting inside of a fund that has created revenue for the government and that has become an investment opportunity for the people of Trinidad and Tobago for the $30 billion that we put in CLICO pocket. So until and unless you can explain to me why the government must now sell these shares after we don't spend so much money behind the shares, I'm not quite understanding you. So here's what, Anthony. Instead of getting into this girl fight, right? Because that's what your column was like this week. It was like, a couple jabs. Instead of this stupid girl fight that you carry on with in your column this week, spend the next couple days beefing up yourself, right? Work out your muscles, work out your editorial muscles, and come next week with a proper 1,000-word essay, not short story. We ain't dealing up with no fictions here. Come with a proper 1,000-word essay that outlines and explains exactly how selling the Republic Bank shares going to benefit the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because right now, them 2 columns that are right there is about how to get the Republic Bank shares to benefit whoever, whichever business entity you are protecting right now. Me is stupid. None of we are stupid. We understand only too well that you are the face of something else. Right? So until you could explain that to me, 1,000 words, come in with some solid punches. Do you see? I don't girl fight. I don't girl fight at all. And if you're going to come for me, come for me proper. And I know what it is you're going to try to come with, right? I already set like my PP for you. So go through hard. But like I said, the Republic Bank shares are part of the National Investment Fund, and that National Investment Fund is the all of the CLICO assets that we done spend a good hot $30 billion behind. Good. Right. I need a minute. I need to have some. My throat is parched. So we're going to get into now. Ooh, we had to talk about Toppy. Toppy. Where my Toppy pictures, boy? Let me see if I could find. Let me find my Toppy picture. Right. So, well, where to start, boy? Where to start? There's so much to talk about. But let's get into Sir Toppy Toppington. Toppy, the sloppy copy. So the Prime Minister would have come on Saturday afternoon, basically to let us know that we have thoroughly jackassed the thing, right? The numbers ain't going down adequately. We still, spread still taking place. And then, of course, there was the whole argument all of last week about what is private versus public as a result of members of the TTPS going to Bayside, and then not actually doing anything about the pool parties that was happening in Bayside. So the Prime Minister makes a comment at the press conference. I mean, I know all you know this. And he makes a comment and he talks about how the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service needs to understand that when they're applying the law, they have to apply the law evenly across the board in the same way for everybody. Basically making a comment about there not being class inequity, right? You want class equity, and you want other kinds of equity as well. Because here in Trinidad and Tobago, class and ethnicity tied up tight. Class, ethnicity, colorism tied up tight. So you don't want a situation where it appears as if the police service will only enforce the law with some people and not enforce the law with other people, based on how they're looking, based on how they live in, based on any number of things, right? And so he makes that comment on Saturday. And then Sunday afternoon, well, actually, after he made the comment on Saturday, that was when Toppy just went wild. He went into total spiral meltdown mode. And then by Sunday afternoon, Dominic Calipasad does the country a huge favor by conducting an interview in a manner only the way Dominic Calipasad would conduct an interview. Dominic Calipasad asks questions and listens. And he gives Gary all the road he needed to be able to run on. So he cut track for Guti, and Guti pelted through the track. So Motormouth was going at a mile a minute and saying all kinds of nasty, disrespectful things to the Prime Minister. So Monday morning, boy? Today is what, Wednesday? Monday morning, we would have heard that the Prime Minister had summoned a meeting, right? Not summoned the Commissioner of Police, and I think he would be well within his right to summon the Commissioner of Police, but he summoned a meeting, and that meeting was supposed to feature the Commissioner of Police. And Toppy, who clearly missed the reading for meaning class in Standard 5, jump out his whole self and was vexed for the rest of the day about who could summon him and who can't summon him, and a set a press release, one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. Then, what has happened after that? I think Major General Ralph Brown, there would have been a letter to the editor from Major General Ralph Brown. And Toppy, who is barely a captain, would then decide that he's going to diss Major General Ralph Brown because he can't take any criticism. So nobody at all must ever say anything to this gentleman, because as far as he is concerned, he above the law. But then he started to jump out himself so far, and he realized how much criticism he was getting. Toppy then comes and makes a statement that what? He only answerable to God and to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, Walia, there are a couple things we need to talk about this afternoon. A number of things. But I've seen some people telling me that they have class starting at 8 o'clock, so try and wrap the thing up fast, them kind of thing. So I ain't able to tell you now. All they just want to be rushing me. So right. You see this? This is the role and mandate of the Police Service Commission. And I want to say a couple things. Let's say a couple things about the Police Service Commission. The Police Service Commission in Trinidad and Tobago is answerable to the President, right? Not the Prime Minister, the President. The only group the only organization, the only body that can fire the Commissioner of Police is the Police Service Commission. They hire, they fire, they do assessments, right? So if you look in here, you will see that their role and mandate: appoint persons to hold or act in the office, make appointments on promotion and to confirm appointments, remove people from office, exercise disciplinary control, monitor the efficiency and effectiveness, monitor how efficiently and effectively they are discharging their functions. Now, Gary has been power tripping for quite some time. Lots of people forget exactly where my history with the sitting Commissioner of Police began. It began when he was appointed. Because the minute he was appointed, I was one of the first persons to say he is a bad fit for the job. And I said he was a bad fit for the job because I remembered the role that he played in advising Kamla Prasad-Bissessar when she was in government, and the role that he played in things like dismantling the national security apparatus and allowing for an illegal state of emergency to be called. So because I remembered those things, I said point blank, I am not in agreement with his appointment as Commissioner of Police. And as far as I'm concerned, he was so far down the list of persons that should have been given the job. I didn't think that he should have been the Commissioner of Police. I think they should have started a recruitment process all over again and go with persons who were in the top 2 or top 3. Certainly not somebody who was as far down the list as he is. Plus, his background, and I have seen his resume, his background is in the military. His background is not in policing, crime detection, crime solving, criminology. It's not in the areas of crime and criminology. Good. So on the basis of those things, I came out and said very vehemently I was not in favor of him being a Commissioner of Police. And I also said that given his very flagrant political ambitions, he was going to be using the position of Commissioner of Police to promote himself politically. I said all of those things all the way back in 2018. And I am so, do I say glad? Because I'm not really glad about it. I will say this. I will borrow a word from Kamla Prasad-Bissessar. I feel quite vindicated when I look at the behavior that he carries on with. Because he is very much about optics and not particularly focused on actually getting the job done. So any criticism he deals with in the most toxic and oppressive ways. So the Prime Minister made a statement, he gets upset about it. And he doesn't just get upset about it, but he lashes out and he's attacking the Prime Minister. And he has attacked the Prime Minister, who is, the head of our government here. When you look at this document here, when you look at the mandate of the Police Service Commission, and you realize that they're the only group or body that can hold them accountable, you have to ask yourself, what is the Police Service Commission doing? Because Gary Griffith has spent the majority of 2020 and parts of 2019 openly fighting with members of the public on social media. Openly fighting. You have a Commissioner of Police who is not protecting the public. He's fighting the public that he's supposed to be protecting. And this Service Commission has given the man flying colors on his assessment. So I'm trying to understand, how does he get flying colors on his assessment? Then I see he get flying colors on his assessment with respect to things like how he has handled the accounting in the police service. This is a man who has actually been in media, in the domain of media, complaining about not being able to get money from the ministry. And what you need to understand is, to get money from the ministry is a whole accounting process. So if you want money this afternoon, you don't ask for money this morning. You had to ask for money 2 and 3 weeks ago. And there were many stories in the public domain that suggested that how the TTPS was going about making requests for funding it was showing me that the commissioner did not have a handle on how he was accessing funding from his larger line ministry. So when I saw that he was, he got flying colors on his assessment, I thought to myself, what is really going on with this service commission? Are they not seeing the same things that the rest of the population seeing? Are they aware of what the rest of the population is dealing up with? So to me, we need to get ourselves into a position where the office of the president starts asking the Police Service Commission questions about how they're going about holding this man accountable. Because that is the entity to hold the man accountable. Now everybody was waiting on Tuesday to see whether or not he was going to be fired. The Prime Minister can't fire the Commissioner of Police. The Prime Minister could probably decide that he wants to buy out his contract, and even that takes time. There's a whole process for wanting to buy out somebody's contract. Y'all remember Gibbs and Uwatsky? Right. Remember Kamla Prasad-Bissessar bought out their contracts, paid them, a couple $1 million after buying out their contract, send them off, and then she would have put Stephen Williams to act. And Stephen Williams proceeded to act for several years. I think he was reappointed 12 or 13 times to act. 6 month stints at a time. And then we eventually get a full-time commissioner of police. But it turns out to be a full-time commissioner of Facebook because he always on social media. I don't know what policing he's actually be doing. I also don't understand why he is writing his own press releases all the time when he have a whole communications department. But he's there. In about a month's time, he would have served 2 years of a 3-year term. The Service Commission is in a position where they can discipline the Commissioner of Police. They can discipline the Commissioner of Police. And I am hoping that they have been paying attention to what is taking place in the public domain. Because right now, the only thing that is standing between us and total mayhem with this Commissioner of Police is that Police Service Commission. And the President needs to make sure that they are doing their job. Because we have a very, very, very toxic and unstable Commissioner of Police right now. And as it there, folks, there were some positive things coming out of the TTPS this week, though. There were a number, if you're following the things that they put up on Twitter and Facebook, there are a number of crimes that they solved this week. So the police officers that are doing hard work, kudos to y'all. Your commissioner, not so much. As far as I'm concerned, he needs to go. I think he's a complete and total waste of time, and all you know, that has been my position for quite some time. He shouldn't be there. But I'm going to hope that the Service Commission at least fulfills its mandate with respect to discipline, right? Because the Commissioner of Police needs to be reined in. He can't be taking off earrings for everybody whole week, so. It can't be everyday life you get up and all you're doing is handing somebody a handbag and taking off your earrings and your shoes. No, Gary. Come better than that. In any case, folks, I hope everybody understands now how private beaches work. So, you know, we can all enjoy our private beaches when they lift the COVID regulations. And I hope everybody has a slightly better understanding of how much money we paid to bail out Clico. Bye. Catch you all on Friday.